Welcome back to Proverbs 31 Life. Today we are looking at relying on Jesus. If you go to Luke chapter 5, you will see Jesus is teaching from the edge of Lake Gennesaret, and there were fishermen on the shore washing their nets, which meant they were done. The nets were heavy, they were large, so cleaning them took a lot of work, and this wasn't something they just did. They cleaned at the end when they were done. Jesus gets into the ship and told Simon to thrust out a little. After Jesus finished teaching, he told Simon to thrust out into the deep. His first command was to go out just a little. Often, Jesus doesn't call us to go out into the deep right away. He asks for one step of obedience before revealing the next. Jesus also commanded Simon to let down his nets for a draught. Remember that he was washing his net. He was done. He was packing it up for the night. But Jesus said, throw it out again. He was asking him to put it back in the water, which meant they would have to be cleaned again very soon. This was a lot of work for them. Verse 5 gives us Simon's response to the Lord. And Simon answering said unto him, Master, we have toiled all the night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word, I will let down the net. Simon gets a lot of grief from most Christians because Jesus said to let down the nets, plural, and Simon only let down one. We can pick at him and talk about partial obedience or a lack of faith, but many of us instead have argued, made excuses, and not let down any nets at all. Simon was an experienced fisherman, and so were those that were with him. They had already toiled all night. They knew there were no fish to be caught. They knew what they were doing. They had just washed their nets, and Jesus wanted them to return to the water. They knew how much work this would be, but at least Simon launched out and put a net into the water. We can talk about partial obedience, but at least he did. Some of us don't do anything at all because we're so sure. We just know that there's no fish. We've done it. Lord, I don't know what you're thinking, but I know better than you, and I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm going home. That's what they could have done. Jesus told Simon why he wanted him to return his nets to the water. He said, for a draught. He told them that they would catch fish this time. Sometimes we get focused on the work or the inconvenience of what Christ has asked us to do, and we miss the promised results. Sometimes all we hear is let down the net, and then we begin to think, how hard, how long, why, what's going to happen? I've already done this and it didn't work, and we don't even hear for a draught. We just hear let down the net, and we don't like it. They toiled all night and their nets were empty, but now they had the master of the fish with them. Things are different when Jesus is in the boat. Anything we do in our own strength will be empty, like their nets were. We must learn to do things in his strength and his timing. Simon's response in verse 5 shows us that due to his experience and wisdom, he almost missed that draught of fish. He almost missed the blessing. How many things are we missing because we're not relying on Jesus? We're doing it ourselves, and then we quit. And then God says, no, now I want you to do it my way and in my timing and my strength. Let me help you. And we say, nope, it's not going to work. I'm already done. We keep relying on our own strength and missing the draught. How often do we rely on our own skills, wisdom, and experience rather than relying on the Lord? We must trust Christ. This is the beginning of our faith, but the other side of faith is obedience. When we believe him, we trust him, we know what he says is true, then we'll obey. If we're not obeying, we're not believing. We can't say, God, I believe you, God, I trust you, but I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm going to stay over here where it's safe. I know you said to let down the net, but I don't trust you enough to do that. That's not faith. We cannot separate these. Trust Christ. Rely on him. Don't trust in your own skills, wisdom, or experience alone. If he says to launch out, launch out. Let him take the lead of your life. Trust Christ and launch out today. Stay in the Word. Stay close to the shepherd and let him lead you in passive righteousness.